"She doesn't belong at this altar." That's what she said, out loud, in front of the entire congregation, in front of the priest, in front of God. I remember the exact moment because the organ had just stopped playing, and the church was so quiet that every single person in those pews heard every single word that came out of her mouth. My hands were ice cold, my chest was tight, but I kept my eyes forward, and I did not move a single inch. My name is Olivia. I am 31 years old. I grew up going to church every Sunday with my grandmother, who taught me that the way you carry yourself in the house of God says everything about who you are. I married Daniel 3 years ago, and from the very first day, his mother, Patricia, made it very clear that in her eyes, I would never be enough. Not for her son, not for her family, not for her church. And I want you to understand something before I tell you the rest of this story. Because what happened that Sunday changed everything. Not just for me and Patricia, not just for me and Daniel. It changed something in that entire room. And if you have ever sat in a place of peace, in a place that was supposed to be sacred, and had someone try to tear you down in front of everyone, then you already know what I felt the second those words left her mouth. Before I go any further, if this is your first time here and you want to hear stories like this one, stories about women who stayed silent until the right moment, stories about standing your ground without losing your dignity, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. I share new stories every week, and trust me, you do not want to miss what comes next. Now let me take you back to the beginning, because Patricia did not start with the church. She started much earlier than that. She started the very first time Daniel brought me home to meet her, and she opened the front door, looked me up and down from head to toe, and said, with a smile that never reached her eyes, "Oh, you're not what I pictured." She said it like a compliment. She meant it as a warning. And from that night forward, I knew exactly what kind of woman I was dealing with. Patricia was the kind of woman who never raised her voice. She never had to. She had mastered the art of doing damage with a soft tone and a smile on her face. She could say something that cut you straight to the bone, and then turn to the room and act like she had just offered you a cup of tea. She was precise, she was deliberate, and she was patient. She did not attack all at once. She chipped away, slowly, carefully. A comment here, a look there, a story told to the wrong person at the wrong time. In those first months, I told myself it was just an adjustment period. I told myself she was protective of her son and that she would come around once she got to know me. I was generous with my time. I was polite at every dinner. I laughed at her jokes even when they were aimed at me. I helped in the kitchen even when she made it very clear she did not want me there. I sent her flowers on her birthday. I remembered every detail she ever mentioned about her own life and asked about it the next time we spoke. I was trying. I was genuinely trying. And none of it mattered, because Patricia did not want to be won over. She wanted to win. And in her mind, the only way she could win was if I lost. The comments about my cooking came first. Daniel and I had the family over for Easter, and I had spent 2 full days preparing. I made my grandmother's sweet potato casserole, I made cornbread from scratch, I made a glazed ham, I made 3 different pies. Daniel was proud. He kept walking around the kitchen saying how good everything smelled, squeezing my shoulder, telling his cousins that I had been in there since Friday. And Patricia sat down at the table, took 1 bite of the casserole, put her fork down, and said, "It's a little sweet, isn't it?" Daniel never liked things too sweet. She said it to the whole table, and then she moved on like she had said nothing at all. I smiled. I said nothing. I passed the cornbread. Then came the comments about the house. We had bought our place about 8 months after the wedding. It was a 3-bedroom home in a quiet neighborhood, and I was proud of it. I had painted every room myself. I had picked out every piece of furniture with intention. I had plants by every window and pictures of our family on every wall. It felt like home. It felt like ours. And the first time Patricia came over, she walked through every room slowly, running her finger along the shelves, looking at the curtains, and finally said, "It's cozy for a starter home." Then she sat down on the couch and asked Daniel if he wanted her to help him find something bigger when they were ready to upgrade. She said, "They." Not you two. Just they. Like I was not standing right there in my own living room. I offered her coffee. She said she didn't drink coffee after noon. I offered her water. She said tap water gave her headaches. I smiled, went to the kitchen, and stood over the sink for 30 seconds with my eyes closed before I brought her a bottle from the refrigerator. Daniel saw some of it. Not all of it, but some. And every time I brought it up gently, every time I said, "Hey, that comment she made felt a little pointed," he would sigh and say, "That's just how she is, Olivia. She doesn't mean anything by it. She's just old-fashioned." He loved his mother. I understood that. And I was not asking him to choose. I was asking him to see. And for a long time, he refused to look directly at what was right in front of him. But Patricia was not satisfied with just the small moments. She needed an audience. She was at her most herself when people were watching. And the bigger the crowd, the sharper she got. The first time she really came for me in public was at Daniel's cousin's birthday dinner. There were about 20 people at the table, and we were all talking about a new job I had just started, a project manager role at a firm downtown that I had worked extremely hard to get. I was talking about it with genuine excitement, and Patricia, who had been quiet for most of the meal, leaned forward and said, loud enough for the whole table to hear, "That's nice, Olivia. Daniel always said he wanted a wife who had her own thing going on. That way he doesn't have to worry as much." She patted his hand while she said it, like she was complimenting him for tolerating me. The table got a little quiet, and then someone changed the subject. And the moment passed the way those moments always do, when nobody wants to be the one to address it directly. I picked up my fork and kept eating. I did not say a word, but I felt every pair of eyes that glanced at me to see how I would react. And I gave them nothing. I gave her nothing. That was the rule I had made for myself. Give her nothing. Do not flinch. Do not cry in front of her. Do not raise your voice. Do not give her the reaction she is building toward. Because I understood by then that every single thing she did was designed to provoke a response. She wanted me to snap. She wanted me to be the difficult daughter-in-law. She wanted me to be the problem. And the only way to keep that from happening was to stay completely, utterly, unreadably calm. But staying calm takes energy. And Patricia had been draining mine for 3 years. There were nights I sat in the bathroom at 2 a.m, running through every conversation we'd had that week, trying to figure out which comments were intentional and which ones I was reading too much into. There were mornings I woke up already tense because I knew we had a family event coming, and I did not know what form she would choose to come at me in that time. There were moments with Daniel where I tried to explain exactly how exhausted I was, and I could see him wanting to believe me but not quite getting all the way there. He was caught between 2 people he loved, and I understood that. But there is a difference between being caught and being blind. And for too long, Daniel was being a little of both. I never stopped loving him through any of it. I want to be clear about that. What Patricia was trying to do, the wedge she was trying to drive, it never fully worked. Because Daniel and I had something real. We had built something genuine together. And even in the hardest moments, we found our way back to each other. But we needed to have a much bigger conversation than either of us had been willing to have yet. And it took a Sunday morning at church to force that conversation to finally happen. Our church was the center of that community. It was the kind of place where people had been sitting in the same pews for 30 years, where everybody knew everybody, where your reputation was built week by week through years of showing up. Patricia had been a member of that church for over 2 decades. She was on the hospitality committee. She knew the priest personally. She had her own parking spot in the lot, not officially, but everyone knew it was hers. She was a fixture. She was established. And she used that position the same way she used everything else, carefully and deliberately, to set a stage. The occasion was a special blessing ceremony the church was holding for married couples. It was an annual thing, a Sunday where couples came forward together at the altar to receive a blessing for their marriage and their home. Daniel and I had talked about going for the past 2 years and kept missing it. This year, we made it a priority. I had bought a new dress. I had gotten my hair done the day before. I was genuinely happy about it. Genuinely looking forward to standing up there with my husband in a space that felt holy and peaceful and good. We arrived early. Daniel's whole family was already there, sitting together in a section near the front, which I should have taken as a sign. Patricia was in the middle of that row, dressed in her Sunday best, hair perfectly set, greeting people as they came in with that practiced warmth she reserved for public appearances. When she saw me, she smiled. That smile that never reached her eyes. I smiled back. I sat down next to Daniel and I focused on the service. The ceremony was beautiful for the first part of it. The priest spoke about commitment and patience and the way love requires daily choice. Couples were called forward in small groups, and when our names were called, Daniel took my hand and we walked up together. I remember feeling genuinely moved standing there, genuinely peaceful. And then Patricia stood up. She did not wait for an opening. She did not raise her hand. She simply stood up from her pew, and in a voice that was not quite a shout but was absolutely loud enough for the entire church to hear, she said, "Father, before you proceed, I think the congregation deserves to know that this woman has been keeping my son from his family. She controls who he sees and when. And I think that is something that should be addressed before any blessing is given here today. The church went completely silent. I felt Daniel's hand tighten around mine. I felt every single eye in that room turn toward me. I felt the heat of it, the weight of it, all those faces waiting to see what I would do. And I stood completely still. I did not turn around. I did not look at her. I kept my eyes on the priest, and I waited. What happened next was something I had not expected. The priest, Father Thomas, who had been standing at the altar with his hands folded, looked at Patricia for a long moment. Not with anger, not with embarrassment, just with a long, quiet, steady look. And then he said, in a voice that was calm and clear and carried all the way to the back of the room, "Patricia, please sit down." She did not sit down. She said, "Father, I am speaking as a mother who has watched her son be," and he said gently but with absolute finality, "Today, the ones who need to be heard are the ones standing at this altar, and the one who needs to listen is you." The silence that followed was different from the silence before. It was heavier. It was full. It was the kind of silence that happens when something true has been said out loud in a room full of people who all felt it at the same time. Patricia sat down. I did not look at her. I kept my eyes on Father Thomas, and he looked at me with a kindness that made my throat tighten, and he proceeded with the blessing as if nothing had interrupted it. He placed his hand over both of ours, and he spoke about the strength it takes to build a life with someone, about the grace required to stay standing when things get hard, about the way love, real love, is not fragile. It holds. When we walked back to our seats, the room was still very quiet. People were looking at Patricia, not at me, at her, and I could see on her face for the very first time in 3 years something I had never seen there before. She looked small. Not because anyone had attacked her or embarrassed her on purpose, but because she had done that to herself, in the one space where she had always felt the most powerful, and it had not gone the way she planned. Daniel did not say anything until we got to the car, and then he sat behind the wheel for a full minute without starting the engine, and he said, "I'm sorry, Olivia. I should have said something a long time ago. I should have done a lot of things a long time ago." He did not make excuses. He did not explain away what had happened. He just said he was sorry, and the way he said it, I believed him. We drove home without stopping to say goodbye to anyone. He called his mother that evening. I was not in the room for the conversation, but I could hear the tone of his voice through the door, and it was different from any conversation he had ever had with her before. It was not angry. It was firm. It was clear. And when he came out, he sat down across from me at the kitchen table and told me that he had told her that things were going to change, that our home, our marriage, and my peace were not things he was willing to negotiate, that she was welcome in our lives when she could be respectful, and when she could not, she was not welcome at all. She called me 2 days later. I almost did not answer, but I did. She did not apologize directly. Patricia was not built for direct apologies, but she said in a voice that was quieter than usual that she understood she had overstepped and that she hoped I would be willing to give her another chance to do better. It was not the apology I deserved, but it was something. It was the first time she had ever spoken to me like I was a person she might need to consider rather than a situation she needed to manage. I told her I appreciated her calling. I told her I was willing to try if she was. And I meant it. Not because I had forgotten everything she had done. Not because 3 years of small wounds had stopped mattering, but because I am not someone who holds on to anger out of principle. I was never trying to destroy her relationship with her son. I was never trying to take anything from her. I just needed her to stop trying to take things from me. The next Sunday, we went back to church. Patricia was there. We sat in the same section. She moved over to make room without being asked. Before the service started, she leaned toward me and straightened the collar of my jacket. It was a small gesture. Maybe she thought I did not notice. I noticed. Father Thomas started the service. I looked at the light coming through the stained glass windows, and I thought about my grandmother, who taught me that the house of God was not a place for performance. It was a place for truth. And truth, when it finally speaks, does not need to raise its voice. I thought about all the Sundays I had sat in church as a little girl, listening to the same lesson over and over. That how you treat people in the moments when you think no one important is watching, those moments are the ones that define you. Patricia had forgotten that. Or maybe she had never believed it applied to her. But it does. It applies to everyone. And every single person in that room saw the proof of it on the Sunday she stood up at the altar. And the one voice that answered her was not mine. If you have ever been in a room where someone tried to use your silence against you, where they expected you to break and you didn't, leave a comment below. I want to hear from you. And if this story meant something to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. You don't belong in this family. You were a mistake he made. That's what my mother-in-law said to me, right in the middle of Sunday dinner, in front of everyone. I didn't react. I just looked at my plate, took a slow breath, and stayed quiet. My name is Alana. I'm 29, married to Marcus for 3 years, living in a quiet suburb outside Atlanta. From the beginning, I knew his mother, Denise, didn't like me. I just didn't know how far she was willing to go to make me feel small. At first, it was subtle, the kind of comments that could pass as jokes if you didn't look too closely. "You cook. Interesting food," she said once, barely touching the plate I made. Another time, she smiled and added, "Marcus used to date girls who were more polished." I understood what she meant. I always did. I tried to win her over. I really did. I invited her over, asked about her recipes, listened to her stories. I kept telling myself that respect takes time, that maybe she just needed to see who I really was. But she wasn't interested in seeing me. She was only interested in controlling what she thought was still hers. She had a key to our house. At least, that's what I thought. Later, I found out she had copied it without asking. She would show up unannounced, walk in like she owned the place, open cabinets, move things around. "This kitchen is a mess," she would say, even when everything was clean. "Marcus likes things a certain way." Every time I stayed calm, I told myself it wasn't worth a fight. Marcus would just sigh and say, "That's just how she is." And I believed him, for a while. But then things started to pile up, small things at first. She would reorganize my closet when I wasn't home. She threw away a dress I loved because she said it looked cheap. She even replaced my spices with brands she preferred, like my choices didn't matter inside my own home. I kept swallowing it, not because I was weak, but because I was watching, learning, waiting. The breaking point came during that Sunday dinner. The whole family was there, cousins, aunts, even neighbors. I had cooked everything, hours in the kitchen, making sure it was perfect. I wanted just once to feel accepted. Halfway through the meal, Denise stood up, raised her glass, and said, "I think it's time we stop pretending." The room went quiet. Then she looked straight at me and said, "You don't belong in this family. You were a mistake he made." A few people laughed, not loudly, but enough. Marcus didn't say a word. He just stared at the table. And me? I smiled. Not because it was funny, but because in that moment, everything became clear. That was the last time anyone would laugh at me without consequence. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I simply stood up, thanked everyone for coming, and started clearing the table like nothing had happened. But inside, I had already made my decision. The next morning, while Marcus was at work, I called a locksmith. By the afternoon, every lock in the house had been changed. I installed a camera doorbell. I packed up every item Denise had brought into our home and placed them in boxes. Then I waited. 3 days later, she showed up. Of course she did. I saw her on the camera first, walking straight to the door like always. No hesitation, no knocking. She tried the handle, locked. She tried again, harder this time. Then she rang the bell. Once, twice, then she started knocking, loud and impatient. I opened the door slowly. She looked at me confused, then angry. "Why is the door locked? I have a key." "Not anymore," I said calmly. Her face tightened. "What do you mean, not anymore? This is my son's house." I held her gaze. "This is my house too." She laughed, but it sounded forced. "Don't start with me. Give me the new key." I didn't move. "No." That's when her tone changed. Sharper, colder. "You think you can shut me out? After everything I've done for this family?" I stepped slightly forward, just enough to make it clear I wasn't backing down. "You don't get to walk in here anymore without respect." She stared at me, like she didn't recognize who I was. "I've stayed quiet for a long time," I continued. "I've let things go." But that ended the other night. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I pointed to the boxes beside the door. "Those are yours. Everything you brought into this house. Take them." For a moment, she didn't move. Then she said, softer this time, "You're making a mistake." I shook my head slightly. "No, I'm correcting one." She looked past me like she expected Marcus to appear and fix it, but he wasn't there. And for once, neither was her control. "From now on," I said, steady and clear, "you knock, you wait, and you come in only if you're invited. If that's a problem, then don't come at all." Silence. Real silence. The kind that doesn't leave space for laughter. She picked up one of the boxes slowly, still looking at me. like she was trying to understand how things had changed so fast. But the truth is, they hadn't. I had changed. And for the first time since I met her, she had nothing to say. If you've ever been pushed to the point where silence feels safer than speaking, then you understand. Sometimes the strongest move isn't raising your voice. It's deciding exactly when to stop being quiet.